Hey guys, Dave here. Today I wanted to talk about the USB-C connection, and specifically my phone connection. My phone has been having some issues where if I plug this in, it has a fast charging mechanism and it has a charging mechanism that is not fast charging, so it can go slow, fast, or like super fast charging essentially. And I think it can max out at about 25 watts. But it's been having an issue lately. I've had it for about a year and 8 months, and it's had an issue where if I plug in the charger that I've been using for ever since the inception of this phone, it won't actually fast charge. And it's been having a connection issue. And I boiled it down to it's this connection specifically because I use one of my USB connections for my GoPro, for my phone, for my wife's phone sometimes. And when I plug it into any of the other phones, it clicks nice and securely, and it works really well. However, it doesn't work with my Samsung S20 FE phone, and I've only had this phone for about a year and 8 months. I beat this phone up, just goes in my pocket, does standard things, probably use it for 3 or 4 hours a day. It's not a phone that I use lightly, but I really only charge it once a day. So let's actually talk about this for a second. If I charge it once a day, 365 days a year, and I've had it for, let's say, 2 years. It's only been a year and 8 months, but let's just multiply it by 2. 730 connections. That's not a lot of connections. And the mating cycle should not break down right now. And taking a look at the actual configuration for USB hardware, this is just the Wikipedia page. We have a bunch of different types: USB-A, USB 3A, we have USB-B, and we have the USB-C standard. If we go under the durability cycle, we can see that the minimum rated lifetime is 1,500 cycles for USB. Mini USB increased that to 5,000, and micro and USB-C designed for 10,000 mating cycles for insertion and removal. Insertion and removal. I'm nowhere near that. I maybe hit 1,000 mating cycles, maybe, and I'm having some major issues with this. It won't hold itself in there. It is very loose, and even if I change connections, it's this connection on the phone that's the issue. So is it just a Samsung problem? Is it the Samsung connection that's just screwed up? Well, maybe and maybe not. I do the same thing. I have a USB-C connection that I use for my computer. I have a Dell laptop that I use for work, and it uses USB-C. And I have a similar issue. I use this connection to connect it up, and the USB-C connection, well, this was made by Dell, and it just fell apart about a year ago. So that's, that may be an issue on Dell, but the actual connection itself works pretty well, or it did for the first 2.5-ish years that I used it. I plug into an external dock, and after about 2.5 years, this started to get issues because I'm using just a USB-C cable for my HDMI connection and for my external display, for my mouse, my keyboard, everything. So when I plug this into my computer, it's got to work and it's got to stay connected for everything. It's not always the case. If I move it around too much, it actually gets disconnected even though it's still inserted into the actual port. So when they talk about mating cycles, they're honestly just talking about insertion and pulling it out. That's a mating cycle. Mating cycle, mating cycle, mating cycle. They seem to have some issue with the actual connection. Take this cable, for example. This cable is super, super thick. And if we hold it by the end, it's actually pulling relatively hard against the cable. Just with this particular cable. There's a lot that needs to go through. This is a tiny little connection. So I'm not convinced that USB-C can actually make it up to the minimum rated lifetime of 10,000 mating cycles if I'm having issues after 1,000. That's my little rant. Just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on this? Have you had issues with your USB-C connection? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. In fact, I think it's a really good thing that we're on a USB-C standard. But I do think there is room for improvement, is what I'm trying to say. Even Apple's migrated to a USB-C standard. They sell a power adapter. There's news articles about the iPhone getting USB-C. They're moving away from Lightning, mostly because they were forced to do it. But a lot of people are using USB-C. And when you use a charger from Samsung and a cable from Samsung and have a phone from Samsung, you would think that it would actually live up to its 10,000 rated cycles. Now, 10,000 cycles, that's going to last you years and years and years, a decade at least. Even if you're plugging in twice per day, it's going to last you 8 years or something. That's a long time. But to have it start to go bad and I'm losing my fast charging capabilities and sometimes it doesn't charge, I plug it in, walk away, come back, and it didn't even charge because I didn't push it in all the way, or it came out just a tiny bit, like it's not grabbing like it used to. It's kind of an issue, and I'm wondering, I want to get a new phone now, and this is not even 2 years old. Crazy. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.